Since the 80s and the early 90s, gaming has been marketed towards men. You look at all those old PlayStation, Nintendo ads, and it's, you know, like the teenage boy in his bedroom, and it's socialized and normalized that this is what boys do, and it's not a space for girls. Hello, I'm Indiana Froskurinn Black, and I am a League of Legends esports commentator for the LEC. I grew up with a single parent, and it was less expensive to have video games around than to afford a babysitter. So it was a lot of times where my mother would have to take me into work as a small child, and I'd need to be quiet, and so video games were kind of the toy that I gravitated towards. My mother was very influential in terms of like computer science, so she was quite early on in like the early 90s about getting a home computer, understanding kind of where technology was shifting. As I grew up, a lot of my time was invested in gaming, but if you're going to label it that I went home after school every single day and like sat in my bedroom dark and alone, only just playing computer games, no, it was a massive social experience. All of my friends were online. I grew up with the internet, so I come home from school and maybe I spend 5 to 6 hours, you know, solving puzzles or dungeons with my friends from around the world. I tried to go pro in League of Legends when it came out because I just became obsessed with the game, but I wasn't ever good enough. But I found that I had a knack for communicating about the game, so I was approached by an organization called ESL, the Electronic Sports League, I think is what it stands for. And they asked me if I wanted to be a caster for League of Legends. I said yes, and kind of the rest is history.
Nexus has been taken down and clutch bet it all and lose everything in the process.
The circus came to town, we had a fiesta, everything was going back and forth. Like, if you play Zoo Tycoon, and you know when you just unleash the animals on the audience?
What are you doing to your
That's
arms?
basically what just happened right now. That was nuts.
My absolute goal is to be the most accurate and precise that I can be, and that requires watching a lot of tape. The word you're looking for is obsessive. I'm glad that you covered it up with professional. I'll study and I'll comb through the games and I'll watch them on 2x speed, stop them, ask. It's quite time consuming, but it helps me have confidence, and I think that when I have confidence, my ability to articulate these ideas is world class.
Works like this. He either gets up close and personal and he blows you away, or that kickback just knocks him flat. And that's what we saw yesterday. He dove in and he landed flat on his face.
I've been to so many different countries and experienced so many different things, and I talk about video games for a living. I have it extremely good. In terms of the, not most obnoxious thing, but kind of the detriment is being a public figure. I didn't come into this profession wanting to be the face, the ambassador, or the public-facing bumper to something, and then it's the growing pain of learning what that means, how to navigate these tense spaces, and how to deal with the community critique and backlash. And esports in general is really going through growing pains. Esports has more connectivity with its professional players and its personalities than I think traditional sports do. It's kind of inbuilt into the system from esports, so there's a lot more access. And so when the flame and the criticism and the really vitriolic and vile hatred come out because you are masked by internet culture, can create quite extremes. And so it is causing a lot of damage, I think, in professionals and casters. A lot of us have been pretty outspoken about it, but there's not really a solution on what to do about it.
Is it hard to not take it personally?
Oh, everyone takes it personally. It's pretty devastating. I think that there's different tools and different coping mechanisms. Like for this international event, I delete Reddit from my phone and I just won't go on it. I have fans that will reach out and say that they admire me or that I am a role model. I don't know necessarily what that feels like. I do try to think pretty consciously about the things that I say and the things that I do and what I use my platform for. I'd like to think that I'm pretty socially aware. My main goals for this year were to amplify marginalized voices through my platform in esports in general. So I retweet and try to give platforms to a lot of women, a lot of people of color, and other marginalized queer groups. let's just say if someone came to you and said, I want 76% of the workforce to be women, you'd say, that's nuts, that's crazy. But if you actually flip it, in a lot of industries, that's true for men and not for women. So if you can see the clear problem when you reverse the genders, then it should be obvious that there's a problem as the status quo. And gaming is no different. In fact, it's exasperated. It's carrying over a lot of issues that are endemic to mainstream society and then amplified because since the 80s and the early 90s, gaming has been marketed towards men. Sexism can happen obviously at the professional level, but more so it happens at the entry level point. And that's why we don't see women.